I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm actually leaving to go to Indonesia tomorrow to do a festival tour starting up. I've just spent 2 months in Los Angeles in the sun writing, recording, stressed trying to get the next song together and the next thing, but things are great. Thank you.
That's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. Now, to start us off, I want to talk about How Do I Say Goodbye? It is the most beautiful song, and you wrote it about your dad, obviously, and his
Thank
battle
you.
with cancer. What was the
Yeah.
process in creating it and just bringing the song to life?
Yeah, wow. Well, the process was like with me, I knew I had to write a song about my dad. It was kind of bubbling away, and I wrote a song on my album called The Hardest Love that was sort of touching on the subject. It wasn't really about my dad. And then I was in Nashville with my friend John. And I was like, it's just I just had the it was just like here's the time. I've got I'm going to do it now. And so the song I started writing it in Nashville. Wrote the chorus first, and then wrote I think 7 verses trying to match the because the chorus was so it said everything I wanted to say, and it was so the melodies and the words fit together. I wanted the verses to be as magical, but I ended up realizing that the verses just being simple and telling a story really kind of made the choruses feel even better. So I just basically finished in Nashville in a day, the demo, and then I went to England and recorded it properly. And spent I think 2 or 3 days actually just recording. We had the vocals, but I just redid all the guitars and added drums and all that stuff and dressed it up in like the way I wanted it to sound. But that's how it came together.
That's insane. That's awesome. It's so cool to hear about how everything kind of brings itself together in that one main piece. That's amazing.
Yes.
What's it like to perform a song like How Do I Say Goodbye live? You know, you're going on all these tours, you're doing all these things. What is that moment like on stage with all these people? Because you're really telling a story.
Yeah, well, how do I say about it? It's been easier for me to play, and because my dad's okay. So a lot of people don't know that my dad actually got a stem cell treatment, and I wrote the song about my dad being sick, but not knowing if he was going to be okay. And he had a very small chance of being okay, and he actually is okay. And so it's been easier for me to go on stage and to play the song because dad's okay. Whereas if the cancer got worse, it would have been a lot harder to, I guess to play it, but it's been easy to talk about it because but it definitely when I sing it on stage, it does totally bring me to that place of like, oh, like I feel very emotional, it takes me back. I think about my family, my dad and all that stuff. So but it's really fun to play. Because when everyone's connecting and you got thousands of people in a room and you're singing a song that everyone knows is the best feeling in the world.
That's so beautiful and amazing. Now, on the topic of your dad, I'm so glad he's okay. When people hear this song, what do you want them to know about your relationship with your dad and his story and just everything that you guys went through together?
Um, well, I guess the good thing about it is, well, when I write songs, they're very selfishly written. It's really about what's happening in my life, and it's for me. Like, but when you finish it, it's kind of for everyone else. So I guess one thing that I've noticed is a lot of people like have said that like it really helped them through something, and I think that's what I'm seeing is like the song's going to stick around for a long time because it's helping so many people. And so, what I want people to take away from it, I mean, I guess they can feel like they're not alone. I feel like it says a lot of things in a really simple way that's hard to do. I think I feel lucky that all fell down from the sky because a lot of people can't express these things about how they've lost someone, and it feels like the song can speak for other people sometimes and explain how they're feeling without them really knowing it. So that's been good.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned before you're headed to Indonesia in a few days. What's it going to be
Yeah.
like out there? What are you up to?
Yes, I'm doing one festival in Indonesia. So it's a 22-hour flight from LA tomorrow, which is crazy. And then I'm doing that festival, and then I'm going to Australia and we're rehearsing because I'm doing a bunch of like we're doing some arena shows in Australia that have sold out, and then I'm doing a tour all around Europe and Canada. Everything's selling out. It's really quite insane right now, especially because after Be Alright, which is my big song, it was kind of like a lull for 3 years where nothing was really working. And How Do I Say Goodbye has kind of just given all this excitement back, and all the shows are just crazy selling out. So it's just like, so exciting again. Everything just feels like it's like a second chance. So it's gonna be great. Lots of touring.
Absolutely. Congratulations. I'm so excited for you. That's
Thank
such a
you.
crazy, exciting thing. Speaking of which, you've blown up very much within the past couple of weeks and months with your new album and How Do I Say Goodbye? Like you were saying before, what is it like to have all this attention and fame in a short period of time? And how do you stay grounded?
Well, okay, I stay grounded because no matter how successful you get in life, you can always look up and feel like you're a failure. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there's always someone who's doing better than you. So I mean, I stay grounded because weirdly, I'm not like no one really recognizes me a lot. Like, I'm not like one of those guys. I don't walk down the street and like people will be like, I mean, every now and then it happens. I'm more known for the songs, like so it keeps you pretty grounded because I need big songs to stay successful. I wish it wasn't that way because there are some artists that have like a million monthly listeners and they have this like they can sell out like huge places all the time. Whereas for me, I need a really hot song to for everything to be kind of working, and I don't have that like fame crazy. The only place I'm really famous is at my own shows. You know what I mean? So I so that keeps you grounded because I'm never getting inflated like that. Also, I think I got signed a lot later than most people. I think I got a record deal at 26 or something. So, you know, I'd live my life as a normal guy. In my brain, I can't become cool or I can't become that successful because I was such a normal guy for so long that you sort of live enough to know the other side. So and after Be Alright, to be honest, like that song was so big, and I saw how when you have a huge hit, everyone's around you and everyone like attaches themselves to you, and then when you're cold for a few years and the songs aren't working, no one's picking up those phone calls, people sort of aren't there. And then now things are hot again. It's like, oh, cool. But I have more understanding of it's not going to last forever. If the next song doesn't go, like they're going to go, people will go. And also the cycles of success and life are different. Like I'm winning now. The next song I might not be. But I know if I keep writing great music, eventually something will connect and it'll go back up. So a lot of perspective, and I deal with it because of those reasons.
That's such a nuanced and intelligent take that you don't really hear often. So that's amazing. Congratulations
Oh,
on.
thank you.
Now, your
Thank
music
you. Thank you.
often, something so beautiful about your music is just the very heavy and beautiful themes that you portray through them. Now, what draws you to these intense and emotional themes, and how do you approach writing songs that are so emotionally raw?
Yeah, wow, that's a good question. Well, I just write things that are real in my life, right? So, um, yeah, weirdly, the songs that have been most successful for me, like I have like 5 songs that are like done quite well. They've all been super emotional, um, super real and genuine. That I was something that I was really like, going through. That they're not made up, and they have some sort of universal theme in them that is very personal to me. That wasn't attempted to be universal. Um, I just write about things that happen in my life. So I have a song called Half a Man, for instance, where the line is, I wrote it years ago, how am I supposed to love you when I don't love who I am? And I'm like, that was something I was going through. And, it was just real. And to be honest, I was really embarrassed to put that song out because I was like, what are my friends going to say about me? Like, that's something that's so out of character for me to say because I'm not really the most like, I never really talking to my friends about my emotions and stuff like that, but I put it in songs. But then when I released it, people went crazy for it. So I'm like, so I sort of realized early on, the more vulnerable and honest you are, the more they connect to it. And for me, it's a real way to get out those things and feelings, get that out. And then, because I also am quite logical in my life about what I want to achieve and how I do things. Like I'm like into Call of Duty. I love playing Call of Duty. I don't talk to my friends about my feelings really. I love like working out. I love all those things. And then I'm very like driven in that way. And then I can put my emotions into these songs. And it's just a perfect little combination. I think it's like an outlet. But whatever's happening in my life, I just put into songs, and sometimes they connect. So that's how I do it. And since Half a Man, I go, if I feel a bit of like, oh, can I really say that? Is that too much? I go, no, just say it because people love it.
Absolutely. I think you don't really realize how many people are going through exactly the same thing you are until you create something like that, which is so beautiful.
Exactly.
Tell me,
Exactly. Yeah.
tell me a little bit about The Hardest Love and what went into creating it.
Yeah, so it was a weird album to make because it was during COVID. So I was, after Be Alright, I was like flying high. I had like huge billions of streams, and then the album kind of luckily wrapped up just as COVID started. So I toured the world because a lot of artists had big songs during COVID, and it was like they didn't get to see anything. So I toured the world a bunch, and then I was like, oh, cool, I have 6 months off to write songs, but it turned out to be like 2.5 years because of COVID. I made a mistake because I didn't realize that like I kept thinking, oh, we'll just wait till COVID finishes before I release like a lot of music because if you can't tour it, you can't play it. Well, what's the point? Sorry, like what's the point in releasing music if you can't tour it? And and then so I think I took way too long, and I didn't realize the heat was dropping so much. But what it was just me writing songs very slowly and kind of enjoyably, which was stupid. But uh, yeah, it was. I just basically wrote songs, things that were happening for me. So, for instance, I wrote about a friend called Clelia. She was like our sister who passed away. I wrote a song about her called "The Hardest Love." I wrote a song about my dad. I wrote a lot of songs about this girl who I thought I was going to marry, like full on. This was the girl for me. So much so that I was like sending her like I was like, I'm gonna move to LA. I'm gonna get this place. Do you want to be like all this dumb stuff that was like so out of character for me, and I'll never do that again. But I wrote all the songs about her, so many songs about her and that situation because it was also like when I came off the road, I went and spent some time with her, and it was just, when you spend so much time apart, you're just two different people, and so I just wrote these things that were happening at that period of my time of my life, and yeah, those are the songs that came out. Yeah, that's what I put in the album.
It's such a beautiful album. It definitely paid off. I don't think that was dumb at all. You in seasons of life, different things are resonate with people, and I think that that's
Yeah.
very
Well,
important.
look, I think it was the last time, like it was the last time, when you have that, you hit that time in your life where you have one more, like, you just ignore red flags, even in yourself or with the other person, like, not just her, like both of us, like, it just was not, it wasn't like this, it wasn't the vibe. And like, but instead of just being like, oh no, I'm going to ignore those, I think it's the last time I'm going to ignore them. So from now, it's like, I think you just hit that level of maturity where you just go, oh, this is just stupid. What am I doing? I got to actually get my life together in that way. Yeah, so it was the last time I think I'll have one of those kind of relationships, I think.
Absolutely. Now, your music videos are another thing that people are talking about because they're known for this beautiful cinematic quality and this very powerful storytelling. What is the creative process like for this, and what is your vision for your visual brand as an artist as you keep going?
Oh my God, that's a good question. Look, everyone says that my like branding is like my team. They're always like, we've got to elevate it. We've got to elevate it. And for this now things are hot again. They're like, we've got to elevate it more because I'm very like in control of what I want things to be like. Um, But with music videos, it's tough because you really have to just trust a director, and it's a whole other world. Like you give them a song, like for instance, the music video for "Be Alright" is actually, I mean, it's more like from the other perspective than my perspective. You know what I mean? I didn't really found like so you kind of have to trust people, and sometimes they turn out good, and sometimes they turn out like, this is okay. Um, but the last music video my brother directed, Sean, and so he filmed and directed it, and he went through all the family footage for How Do I Say Goodbye and edited it all together with me sitting in a house in Nashville, sort of emotionally watching it all back on a projector, and he nailed it like that. That was one of the best. And my best mate Mick did some of my first videos, like waves and stuff like that. So sometimes you trust people. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you miss them. Moving forward, I think I need to elevate what I'm doing. That's what they tell me because I just love like the photos, like raw organic photos of me like in nature and stuff like that. Like I just think I always want to keep things simple and just keep it moving and let the song do the talking. But I'm having all these conversations right now. It's kind of stressful, but that's how I think about it. If that answered your question.
It did, and it's crazy how your vision is like, I think I'm gonna go simple, and then you create these like insanely beautiful and intense montages. It's really, I think it speaks a lot about you as an artist of like the way that you pursue that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think about it a lot. I think about it all the time. Like I don't have, I just am obsessed with everything. I'm obsessed with what I do. Like with music, all I think about is this. All I think about is the next thing. All I'm thinking about is how to make it great. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But it's really exciting and thrilling. Life is always moving forward, and there's always something new to think about. And what's the challenge? It's always such a challenge. How do you make it work? How do you connect the song to people? How do you make a song great? It's so exciting and so stressful.
As we were talking before, your songs explore a theme of emotional experience and things that you went through. Are there challenges that come along with creating art that's so connected to your own life, and how do you go about that?
That's a good question. God, these are great questions. Yeah, there is. Um, how do I go about it? Well, my song "Be Alright" is an interesting one because that's a very personal song about something that happened to me. But I also included a bunch of stories that happen like it's one of the only songs I've done this where like friends and family had situations that happened to them over the years, crazy stories. I kind of combine them all. So I think, look, I think you've got to, a lot of artists don't talk, they just make something up. But for me, I always try to keep it real with what's happening in my life. And I just do it. Like I don't have that chip. I sort of I bypass it if I ever get worried about saying something. I just go, just say it. But it is tough sometimes because it's like you got to talk. My song's very detail oriented. Like I talk a lot about conversations. I talk a lot about like it's very dialogue heavy. I talk a lot about I try to make little scenes. Like as I'm writing, I try to write it as if you're in my eyes watching what's happening. So so yeah, sometimes it can be a little too personal and too specific, but sometimes you just kind of, I guess, you just change. You do change a little something here and there to make it a little bit more not as obvious about who it's about and stuff like that. Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I think we can all learn from that too, which I think is super cool. Now, you've spoken a bit in previous interviews about the importance of taking risks and pushing boundaries as an artist. How do you approach experimentation in your music, and what are some of the risks you've taken in your career that you feel like have paid off?
You know what's funny? The risk. Okay, the yes, I think in life risks are so important. Like you have to give up everything to swing at something. And my advice to people, or the stuff that's happened to me, someone might emulate it exactly and it doesn't work. So there's always that. But I would say weirdly, the times that I have experimented in my life, like in the sense of trying a new style of song, has always ended up being not as successful as when I've sort of stuck to my guns. I'm weirdly sort of coming full circle back to trusting myself even more because in music, what happens is you have this instinct at the start that you follow. And usually, if you're lucky, you find a lot of success from that initial instinct because the first thing you do, or the first things are you, they're very much you. And then you start to get influenced by people around you. It is incredible how quickly you can have success by following your instincts. And how many people, when you have success, will start to make you believe that they're responsible and start telling you or pushing you in certain directions. And I think every artist goes through this where you listen, you go, okay, well, this person gets paid a lot of money and they have a very high level job and they think I should go in this direction. And you do it and you go, I'm very confrontational. So I'll say, no, I don't like that. I want to go in this direction. But I also listen to people if they're like experienced in the group. And and then you do that, and then sometimes you get pushed in a direction, and then it doesn't work. And it's so funny how those people are so quiet and they just sort of disappear. It's like, wait, I just failed on your terms. And so I had one or two of those where not big, there's little things that happen. And then I've gone so far back into like, no, I don't, I still listen to my group, but I've gone back to going, all right, what works for me? What do I like? Following that instinct. And because I would rather fail on my own terms than fail on someone else's terms because that's the biggest kind of thing with experimentation is like I think a lot of young artists you don't realize that no one has any idea what they're talking about. Some people are, and there is really nothing behind the curtain. I've worked with so many great producers and stuff, and or don't even produce people, and it's like no one's really that good. Everyone's just like people like some people are like really good, but they can still be wrong. And most people are just like okay, even me, like I'm just okay, and but sometimes I'm good at things. But yeah, like learn like, and a lot of young artists have their careers destroyed because they like listen to everyone, and that's a kind of pain I think I've always been very aware to avoid. So it's good to experiment and to push yourself, but I think you got to time it right. I've seen some artists I won't name. I watch because I keep an eye on what everyone else is doing, and sometimes I think they go right too early, like or they go left, like they have a sound and like first album, the next album they just go crazy different sound, and the fans are going, what the hell's going on here? I think there is a time to push it. Actually, I worked with a great producer recently who's genuinely really great. His name is Greg Wattenberg, and he's done like he did, not artist, but Goo Goo Dolls stuff. He's like he said this really insightful thing that clicked with me, and I agree, but I haven't been able to put it into words. He said everything you do, you should don't just go a hard 90-degree angle, but you should move it 5%. Keep moving what you're doing 5%. So a few albums in, you're moving a little bit, and then you're developing and you're changing, but it's slight because as an artist, you have to make your own sound. You have to And it's not just for differentiation's sake. You just have to make your own. You have to find, there is more individuality and you can stand out more by just really finding your own sound. And instead of just trying to do something new, like sometimes it's better to go further into the thing you're doing, isolate it and go further into it. And what comes from that is more uniqueness, even though it might seem like you're doing the same thing.
Absolutely. I think that's such beautiful insight, especially for anyone who wants to follow in your footsteps. And last but certainly not least, what's up next for you? What can fans expect to see?
Uh, yeah. So what am I doing next? Okay. So I'm going on this world tour. I'm this really stressed out time right now because I'm trying. There's like four songs that I can choose from that I finished, and they're all in different directions of like what to do after. Because how do I say goodbye? It's been a hit, and it's like I've dreamed about being in this position again. Like, oh, am I ever going to have a big song again? I do. And so I wrote down all the mistakes I made last time, and I was like, okay, how can I not make this mistake again? But there are so many choices in that. Like, you don't know which way to go. But so it's basically choosing the next song. I think I'm heading in one direction. Um, I think I know what song it's going to be, and so I'm just getting it mixed now and finished. And then it's like, I'm doing a bunch of arena shows all throughout Europe, so it's like trying to elevate the show because usually it's just me playing with my band with this lights. So we're like adding backdrops, we're adding different things, we're changing the setup a little bit. I'm gonna play this. I want to get this new song out really soon, and but it's just going to be touring on the road, and then I think after this year, I'm gonna try to. I think I'm gonna try to figure out how to enjoy life a bit more and try to like give a little bit more time to like personal things and stuff. Because all my whole life is a 360. I don't take days off. All I do is this, and I love it. But I'm kind of like you get to that point where you're like, I've got to start building out some other areas of my life that are actually like enjoyable or like have some time off that's not just completely music focused. Like maybe like leave some time to actually like think about like I don't know, not kids or anything like that, but start to build something. Like I don't know. I just think I've got to open up a little bit of my life for that. But it's going to be a lot of touring, a lot of new music, and yeah, that stuff.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to see it. I'm so excited for everyone to see it. Dean, thank you so much for joining me today. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for taking the time. It was a great chat. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear.